Today I want to talk about common writing advice and my experience with it as an author. What prompted this video was actually a comment from one of you asking about my writing process. It got me thinking about all the writing advice I've received over the years and how some of it transformed my writing, while other tips just didn't fit my style at all. Hi everyone, I'm Razu and this is RazuTales. On this channel I make videos about books, writing, and do deep dives into horror and fantasy. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you appreciate the video, consider hitting the like and subscribe button to join our community of book lovers. Now, let's get started. What fascinates me about writing advice, it's how personal it is. What works brilliantly for one author might be completely useless for another. Writing is both an art and a craft, and like any creative pursuit, there's no single correct way to do it. Let's explore some common writing tips and my experience with them. Write every day. This one works wonders for me, but let me explain why. Writing is like a muscle. It needs regular exercise. When I skip a few days, getting back into the flow becomes harder. I notice my sentences don't flow as smoothly and the words don't come as naturally. Here's what made this advice click for me. I stopped thinking about writing every day as needing to produce thousands of words. Instead, I set a minimum of 15 minutes. Some days, those 15 minutes turn into 3 hours of productive writing. Other days, it's just those 15 minutes, and that's perfectly fine. The key is maintaining the habit and keeping your story alive in your mind. I keep a small notebook with me everywhere I go, and I use my phone notes app when inspiration strikes. This makes it easier to write every day, even if it's just jotting down ideas or snippets of dialogue. Show, don't tell. Another golden rule that serves me well, and I'll share some practical examples of how I implement this in my writing. Instead of saying Sarah was angry, I describe how she slams the door, how her hands shake as she makes coffee, how her words come out sharp and clipped. It brings scenes to life and lets readers experience the story rather than just reading about it. Let me share a before and after example from my own writing. Here's a telling version.
John was nervous about the interview.
And here's the showing version.
John's fingers drummed against his leather portfolio as he sat in the waiting room. Every time the elevator dinged, he jolted slightly, and his collar felt tighter with each passing minute.
See how the second version puts you right there with John? Write what you know. Here's where I deviate from conventional wisdom, and I'll explain why. If authors only wrote what they knew firsthand, we wouldn't have The Lord of the Rings or Dune. I write cosmic horror and fantasy, definitely not things I've experienced firsthand. I prefer to modify this advice to write what you can research, imagine, and emotionally understand. For example, while I've never encountered an eldritch horror from beyond space and time, I can write about the fear of the unknown, the feeling of being small in a vast universe, and the way people react when their understanding of reality crumbles. These are human experiences I can draw from and expand into fantastic situations. Kill your darlings. This advice gets complicated and it took me years to understand its true meaning. While I agree that sometimes we need to cut beautiful passages for the story's sake, I found it better when my editor or alpha readers makes these calls. We often become blind of our own work, making it hard to judge which darlings deserve to live. I'll give you a concrete example. In my current work in progress, I had this gorgeous 3-page description of a haunted forest. I think the prose was some of my best writing, atmospheric, creepy, detailed. But my editor pointed out that it completely killed the pacing at a crucial moment in the story. And she was right. That description, though beautiful, was serving my ego rather than the story. Never use adverbs. Stephen King famously said the road to hell is paved with adverbs, and I agree, mostly. Though I often catch myself using them in first drafts, removing them usually strengthens my writing. Instead of he said angrily, I show the anger through actions and dialogue. Here's my process. In my first draft, I let the adverbs flow freely. During revision, I highlight every ly word and challenge myself to rewrite those passages more effectively. Sometimes an adverb stays because it's genuinely the best choice, but usually I find stronger alternatives. Plan everything before writing. I'm a heavy planner and I'll share my pre-writing process with you. Before starting a new project, I spend considerable time outlining plots, developing character arcs, and building my world. I create character sheets, plot outlines, and even rough maps if the story needs them. This extensive planning helps me maintain consistency throughout the story and prevents major plot holes. However, many successful authors write by the seat of their pants and create amazing stories. Some of the most acclaimed writers in various genres prefer to discover their story as they write, and letting the narrative unfold naturally. Both approaches can lead to wonderful books. There's no universal rule here. What matters is finding the method that helps you tell your stories most effectively. Just write the first draft without editing. This one's tricky, and I've developed a hybrid approach. While I focus on getting words down on paper, sometimes I need to adjust earlier sections for structural reasons. The key is not getting caught in an endless editing loop while still writing the first draft. I use a color coding system in my manuscript. Red highlights mean fix this later, yellow means fact check needed, and green means potential plot hole. This lets me mark problems without falling into the editing trap. I can keep moving forward while ensuring I don't forget about important revisions. Read extensively in your genre. Absolutely essential. Reading widely in your genre helps you understand conventions, reader expectations, and current trends. My horror writing improved significantly when I immersed myself in the genre. I dedicate at least half an hour each day to reading in my genre. I study how other authors handle pacing, dialogue, and scene transitions. I analyze their techniques for building tension and creating atmosphere. This isn't just reading for pleasure, it's studying your craft. Write in the morning when your mind is fresh. This works exceptionally well for me. Early mornings or very late nights are when my creativity peaks. The quiet hours let my imagination run wild. I've learned that my best writing happens between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. and I know this is super early. But at that point, the world is still quiet and my mind isn't cluttered with the day's concerns. But this doesn't mean you have to be a morning writer. The key is finding your peak creative hours and protecting that time for writing. Some people write best during their lunch break, others late at night. The important thing is identifying when your creativity flows most naturally. Never start with dialogue. I actually disagree with this one. Sometimes opening with a powerful line of dialogue creates immediate tension and draws readers in. Think about how many great stories start with an attention-grabbing line of dialogue that immediately makes you want to know more. It's particularly effective in horror and thriller genres, where a startling or mysterious statement can instantly create atmosphere and tension. The key is making sure the dialogue serves a purpose. It should raise questions, create tension, or reveal character. Don't start with mundane conversation just for the sake of having dialogue. When done well, dialogue openings can be just as effective as descriptive or action-based ones. Avoid passive voice. This advice has helped me write more engaging prose. Active voice makes writing more dynamic and immediate. However, I've learned that occasional use of passive voice can be effective, especially when the focus should be on the recipient of an action rather than the actor. I keep a list of passive voice indicators and do a search for them during revision. This helps me identify where I might strengthen the writing with active voice. Always write in chronological order. Not for me. I often start with the scenes that sparked my interest in the story, even if they occur later in the book. These emotional anchor points help me build the rest of the narrative. I use a digital bulletin board to organize my scenes, moving them around until I find the most effective order. This non-linear approach lets me follow my inspiration while ensuring the final product has a coherent structure. Create detailed character backgrounds. I do this for my protagonists. I create character sheets and some of the key characters, but I don't do it for everyone. Knowing your main characters inside and out helps you make their actions and reactions feel authentic. I create detailed backgrounds for major characters, including their fears, desires, and formative experiences. For minor characters, I focus on 1 or 2 defining traits that make them memorable and influence how they interact with the main cast. This prevents me from getting bogged down in unnecessary details while ensuring every character feels real. Follow the 3-act structure. Having studied film, this structure comes naturally to me. It's a reliable framework for storytelling, though it's not the only valid approach. I find it particularly useful for maintaining pacing and ensuring satisfying character arcs. I typically outline my stories with the 3-act structure in mind, but I don't let it become a rigid constraint. Sometimes the story needs 4 acts or a different structure entirely. The key is understanding traditional structures so you can make informed decisions about when to follow them or when to deviate. Remember, writing advice isn't one size fits all. The best approach is treating these tips as tools in your toolbox. Use what works for you and set aside what doesn't. Your writing journey is unique, and that's exactly how it should be. What matters most is developing a process that works for you and helps you tell the stories you want to tell. Writing should challenge you, but it shouldn't feel like you're forcing yourself into someone else's method. What writing advice has worked for you? Which popular tips do you disagree with? Share your experience in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more content about writing and books. Soon I'll be sharing my complete outlining process, so hit that bell icon to make sure you don't miss it. See you in the next chapter.